Hello, and welcome to Behavior and Communication, Part 1, Reframing How We Look at Behavior Under the Communication Lens. This webinar was developed for the Professional Support Services Mental Health and Wellbeing Committee at the Toronto District School Board. My name is Adrienne Miranda, and I am a speech-language pathologist with the TDSB. This video contains personal and/or confidential information. Any disclosure, copying, storage, or distribution of these materials is strictly prohibited by the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, Policy P094, Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy, and Operational Procedure PR 676, Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy. We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Today I would like to talk to you about behavior and how it is deeply linked to one's ability to communicate. We will start by defining the word behavior and try to change how we perceive behavior exhibited by students in the classroom. Then, we will frame behavior in terms of a student's underlying communication skills and needs. Next, we will discuss 3 big ideas that are important to consider when supporting students who experience challenges with behavior. Let's start by asking ourselves, how are behavior and communication linked? Imagine this scenario. You wake up one morning and are on your way to get your morning coffee before work. As you drive away, you notice that the tank of gas is running low, which means you'll need to stop and fill up on the way to work. Then, there's unexpected construction on your usual route and cars are backed up. So, you decide to take the side streets to the cafe, figuring it'll be shorter than waiting in all that traffic. Unfortunately, you're behind a garbage truck for part of the way, and then you make a wrong turn. Parking at the cafe, of course, is a nightmare, and you finally find a small spot in the back. When you get to the door, the lineup is longer than you anticipated, and you're waiting behind someone who's picking up the coffee order for their entire department. You keep checking the time, tapping your feet, and you start to panic. Then it's your turn finally. You approach the counter, and the barista says, "Good morning. How are you today?" To which you reply, "I'm fine. How are you?" But obviously, you're not fine. If you can relate to this situation at all, or have experienced something that has made you feel as anxious, worried, or upset as I described, then you might see yourself replying in the same way to the barista. This is because, for most of us, even if we have such emotional turmoil below the surface, we are able to regulate our emotions and behavior rather than flip our lid. Many of us have coping mechanisms and the language skills needed to regulate our behaviors, but this can be quite a challenge for some students that we work with. With this in mind, let's look at behavior and how it is linked to communication. The Sick Kids Center for Community Mental Health defines behavior as follows: as an adaptive response to the environment. As we see from this definition, as a child's emotions and social skills develop, so do their behavioral responses to social situations. When we think about behavior usually, it is often using terms like positive, good, appropriate, versus negative, bad, inappropriate. However, it is important to take a step back and look at how we label these behaviors, as these descriptors often become internalized by ourselves and others, including our students. Over time, for our students with challenging behaviors, this internalization starts to erode their self-worth and can cause more stress behaviors. Instead, we should start to think about reframing how we describe behavior, looking at it in a different lens instead of positive versus negative. When we change our way of thinking beyond these descriptors, we start to see that a person's behavior is linked to the social situation they are in and how they make others around them feel. A person's response to a situation and the behavior that they then exhibit affects how they are viewed by others and how we treat each other. Therefore, teaching students to observe social situations carefully is actually an important step in having them become self-aware of the impact of their behavior on others. Expected behavior and unexpected behavior are terms created by Michelle Garcia Winner, a speech-language pathologist in California who devotes her career to supporting kids with social communication challenges. To help students think more deeply about the social situation that they are in and adapt their thinking and behavior to the social demands and people they encounter. In this light, we can help students start to see expected behaviors as making other people feel happy, calm, or comfortable, and unexpected behaviors as making people feel upset, worried, or uncomfortable. Learn more at www.socialthinking.com. For example, let's think about a social situation like a housewarming party. One expected behavior from guests could be that they compliment the host's choice of decor in their new home. The host would feel happy to be complimented in this way. On the other hand, one unexpected behavior from guests could be that they are critical of the home, rude to other guests, or they eat all the appetizers before anyone else gets to enjoy them. The host would definitely feel upset to witness this behavior. Take a moment to look at the pictures that will be shown on the screen. Each depicts a different social situation. For each situation, brainstorm one expected behavior that would make others feel happy, calm, or comfortable, and one unexpected behavior that would make others feel upset, worried, or uncomfortable. For example, this picture shows a child at a birthday party. One expected behavior might be that the child is smiling and singing happy birthday to the birthday boy with all their friends. One unexpected behavior might be that the child has a tantrum and starts screaming that they want a present too when the birthday boy opens his presents. Now you try. Communication is both verbal and nonverbal. It is an exchange where we send out messages to our communication partner and receive feedback from them. Communication can be broken down into receptive language or understanding, expressive language, social communication, and speech. For the purposes of this presentation, we will focus on the first three aspects of communication. A review of 26 studies carried out by Benner, Nelson, and Epstein in 2002 showed that 71% of children with emotional and behavioral disorders were also found to have underlying language impairments. This means that many behaviors we see are often manifestations of a person having difficulty getting their message across. When a person's communication skills are limited, they may become frustrated and unexpected behaviors can occur. This has happened to all of us at one point or another, especially if we are in a state of heightened emotions or stress. Now, if an unexpected behavior gets the person what they want or need, then this behavior will likely continue as it has paid off. There is a strong connection between behavior regulation and language. A child with a large vocabulary has the words they need to understand and express their emotions, and link what they're feeling to a reason why they are feeling it, and thus develop better self-regulation skills. Children with better behavior regulation skills often have strong early literacy, vocabulary, and math skills. It is worth noting that some kids with excellent language skills And even great empathy and social intuition skills can also exhibit challenging behaviors due to anxiety or trauma. When their brains are in fight or flight mode, they lose all their great language and empathetic skills and can also exhibit unexpected behaviors. Behavior is ultimately a way to communicate something deeper. If we look at this illustration, we can see that there are many underlying factors that may explain a behavior, both expected and unexpected. For example, if a student is irritable or distracted during lessons or falls asleep at their desk, maybe they are communicating that they aren't getting enough sleep. If a student is upset when they don't get picked for a job or to provide an answer, maybe they are communicating that they are seeking feedback or reassurance. Or if they get upset when peers are laughing or gathered in a group, maybe they are communicating that they have difficulty understanding abstract language like jokes, inferences, or sarcasm, and are fearful that they are being laughed at. Now let's talk about what exactly students are trying to communicate through their behavior. Behavior can have many functions, which can be broadly categorized into the acronym EATS. This was developed by the website Teaching Tolerance at tolerance.org, which provides resources to parents and educators to promote civil and inclusive classrooms. EATS stands for escape, attention, tangible gains, and sensory. Take a minute to read the points beneath each of these functions. Behavior can be the result of trying to escape or avoid something, such as difficult schoolwork, answering a teacher's questions, or any feelings that they perceive as negative, like not wanting to look unintelligent in front of peers. Or the goal of the behavior might be to obtain something, for example, through tugging on a teacher's sleeve, blurting out answers, yelling, or swearing. Sometimes the goal is to gain something tangible from others or control over the environment. For example, a competitive student in gym class might be behaving this way because they really want to win in a basketball game. Often we see these behaviors from students who struggle with impulsivity or flexible thinking. Finally, behavior might be inherently due to sensory input. Sensory seekers are understimulated by sensory information and need more of it to function. For example, a student who needs to feel the movement of their body in space might be constantly rocking their chair back and forth to receive that feedback. On the other hand, sensory avoiders are overstimulated by sensory information and may become overwhelmed and overreactive. For example, a student who can't handle loud or amplified noise might hold their ears, cry, and scream. Let's take a minute to put these ideas into practice. Thinking back to the 4 functions of behavior we just discussed, what do you think the student in each of these scenarios is trying to communicate? Take a minute to pause the video and read the case study. Then think about whether this student's behavior is a function of needing to escape a situation, gain attention, gain something tangible, or as a result of sensory information. Then ask yourself, what are they trying to communicate to you through this behavior? This student's behavior is likely stemming from the need to escape the situation he is in. Marco is trying to communicate that he struggles with the idea of speaking in front of his peers. It is a stressful situation he wants to avoid because he doesn't like the feeling of sharing his own ideas with a large group. By avoiding the situation altogether, he is saying that he does not feel supported enough to participate at this level. He needs to start on a smaller scale maybe through communicating his ideas with his teacher privately or using nonverbal ways to communicate. This student's behavior is likely due to desiring attention. Keon is trying to communicate that he feels motivated when he is told that he has done a good job. He is also saying that he wants to show you how much he knows about the subject, and when he blurts out an answer, he's not trying to be disruptive to your class. He may also feel anxious if he's not chosen immediately because he doesn't know if you will get to him eventually. This student's behavior is likely due to wanting something tangible. Sarah is trying to communicate that she wants this job so much, but she might not have the words to request to be line leader or the social understanding that she can share the same privilege with others. These behaviors might have got her what she wants in the past, and she doesn't understand why that is not the case now. She's showing you that she needs explicit training in asking for what she wants and being aware of sharing with others. This student's behavior is likely due to sensory overload. Annalyn is trying to communicate that she is struggling with sensory overload in the gym. The high ceilings amplify the noise, the kids scream, the sound of their shoes against the floor. All these factors are unique to the gym and put stress on her brain. She is overwhelmed and reacts in the only way she is able to when overloaded, by crying, screaming, and trying to block out the sound. She does well in other situations where the noise does not overwhelm her and wants you to know that she would prefer those places. Now we are going to focus on three big classroom ideas to promote expected behaviors and support student success. Let's start with teach. This means we need to teach behaviors that are appropriate for the child. So, how do we do this? Remember that each behavior has a function and that behavior is a reaction to an unmet need. When teaching unexpected behaviors, we are looking to demonstrate and model behavior that is expected for a given situation. Each student is unique and requires an individualized approach based on the function of the behavior. That being said, here are some Tier 1 strategies to think about using in your interactions with students. Some of these strategies will be reviewed in more detail in Part 2 of this presentation. Additionally, you may wish to check out the emotional literacy and visuals key to learn presentations from the Speech Language Pathology Department, which delve into the topics of strategies for self-regulation and social development in further detail. For now, pause this video and take a minute to read the slide and reflect on times when you might have used these strategies in the past. Next, let's look at ways to investigate why unexpected behavior occurs and to avoid things that unintentionally reinforce the unexpected behavior. As we know, behavior is a reaction to a situation and is influenced by reinforcers or consequences received after the behavior occurs. When working with students, it is essential that we start to analyze our interactions with them and really tease apart the situation where the unexpected behavior occurred. We do this through numerous routes of investigation and collecting data in many different formats, including informal ways, such as recording our observations, to more formalized ways, such as ABC logs. By doing this work, we really start to see patterns in behavior, underlying language or communication difficulties, triggers, and which teaching strategies work best for that student in that situation. To figure out the why, we collect data and analyze it. Many of you will be familiar with informal observations and using ABC logs. Another avenue of support is speaking with members of the school support team. For example, speech-language pathologists assist in determining what underlying language difficulties a student may have, which will inform the strategies trialed at school. Social workers work with students and families on identifying and supporting their social emotional development and mental health, which, as we know, is deeply rooted in manifestations of behavior. Psychoeducational consultants conduct analyses which include, but are not limited to, the impact of behavior on academics. This collaborative effort can give us a well-rounded analysis of behavior. We often hear that it is difficult to identify the triggers or analyze for patterns when filling in ABC logs. Often the skills and needs of the students we work with are so complex that a trigger could have happened hours ago or when we least expect it. We see students often bottling up their feelings until the last straw happens before they flip their lid, but this is rarely the actual cause of the behavior. And so we need to look deeper and at the big picture. One alternative to ABC logs that you may wish to consider is an expected behavior log. This version was developed by Jennifer Kapler, TDSB psychologist, and has been provided to you as a handout. The emphasis here is looking for the expected behaviors and investigating why that experience went well. By changing the lens to look for the positive, we change our mindset and response to a situation, and sometimes change the dynamic we have with the student and their family. It is also great for parents to see positive outcomes documented. To assist with the investigation piece and the collection of behavioral data, we have developed two checklists that you will have received as part of this presentation, one for kindergarten and primary students, and the other for junior and intermediate students. You may notice that this checklist is different from the TDSB behavior checklist you have used in the past, as this one helps rate common behaviors observed in schools under the domains of communication and language. These domains include play and social communication, emotional regulation, communication, and higher level thinking. Pause the video and take a minute to look at the behavior checklist that would best fit your students. Something to keep in mind, and a word we often hear used when we look for the source of the behavior, is triggers. Triggers are something that initiates an emotional response or unexpected behavior in a student. Examples include family, such as health issues in family members, parenting issues, grief, divorce, medical and health, like not getting enough sleep, nutrition, stress, medications, social and community factors, such as the impact of friends, classmates, or extracurricular activities, and sensory needs, like being over or understimulated by sensory input. Identifying triggers can be challenging, but once we analyze the behavior and the communication intent, it is easier to see patterns and make an educated guess as to what the underlying trigger could be. Finally, let's look at ways to prevent unexpected behaviors. As caring adults, we can firstly work on developing our positive relationships with students. This can be as easy as greeting them by name when you see them, or asking questions about their interests and not just about what they're doing at school. We can prevent unexpected behaviors by altering the setting events, reducing triggers, and changing how we respond to the behaviors. Sometimes just changing the physical environment of the class or school can be impactful. For example, by seating a student in a different spot in the lunchroom if they become triggered by overheating, or by allowing movement breaks when they are stressed. It is often very powerful to include the student in the creation of a plan so they can identify strategies that work for them and practice the expected behavior. We can also find more opportunities to praise or provide positive encouragement to increase expected behaviors, as well as helping build a positive sense of self. Finally, we can offer leadership and socialization opportunities to build on the strengths of the student, such as joining sports teams, giving the morning announcements, or providing mentorship to younger students. Dr. Bruce Perry, who is an American psychiatrist who specializes in trauma-informed support, has discussed how to create a safe classroom environment through consistent, attentive, nurturing, and sensitive attention to each child's needs. Students' sense of safety is created and ensured by educators exhibiting predictable and consistent behaviors. When children know how teachers will react, they are more likely to feel safe and understand our expectations and consequences. It is a good idea to establish these school or classroom expectations and consequences clearly at the beginning of the year. While we are on the topic of consequences, we should also remember to frame them in a neutral way that all learners will be able to understand, perhaps through the use of visuals. We want to have consequences not as punishment, but rather there to teach students important skills. Now it is time for you to try out a few of these ideas. Think about a student who demonstrates unexpected behaviors. Using the worksheet provided titled Behavior Worksheet, thinking about teaching, investigating, preventing, and the behavior checklist handout, write down the unexpected behavior and your observations. Then, investigate and analyze the behaviors on the worksheet under the headings provided. Next, select 3 tips to teach behavior that you will try next time. Finally, select 3 prevention tips listed in the worksheet that you want to try in the classroom. We hope that you will try out this exercise before watching part 2 of this presentation. Remember, reframing behavior also reframes our way and our students' way of thinking. It moves us past seeing behavior as good or bad, and instead we begin to understand it in terms of how we make others feel in a given social situation. By doing this, we set the stage for teaching expected behavior, figuring out how to investigate behavior more deeply, and preventing unexpected behaviors. Next time, in part 2, we will talk about concrete strategies to support students who experience unexpected behaviors and provide you with a resource tool that you can use when trying out these strategies. Thank you for watching part 1 of this Key to Learn. You will get the link to watch part 2 on the Key to Learn website in the next few weeks. For more resources, please speak with your school support team members or visit Sick Kids Centre for Community Mental Health and School Mental Health Ontario.